Good morning. We're coming to you today from our front porch here in Jessup, Georgia. And I thought it would be kind of fun to do a video this morning, seeing as how we're all isolated at our homes. And today I just wanted to let you know that our verse is Psalms 118:24. This is the day that the Lord has made. We will rejoice and be glad in it. And today I gathered some stones out of my rock garden. And these different stones were made for me and painted for me, or some that we painted our own self by different people in our family. This one was actually painted for me by my nephew, Josh. This one was made for me by my friend Julie, one of my woohoos. I go to the beach with her and all my girlfriends every summer. This one was painted by my son Zach, who actually has some good talent, but doesn't like to think that he's an artist. The stone that I want to talk about today, though, is referring to a prophecy that surrounds our Bible verse for the week, which is Psalms 118:24. And if you're like me, you may not have ever gone back and looked into details exactly what that verse means, and I had not either, truthfully, until today. And so as I started doing some digging, I discovered there's a much deeper meaning than just the words, "This is the day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it." Even those on the surface, that is a fabulous verse. I mean, think about those meanings. This is the day that the Lord, who is our provider, He is our healer, He is our sustainer, all the things that the word the Lord is to us means that Lord made this day just for us, and we can rejoice and be glad in it. And on the surface, that is an awesome thing to know, and what comfort that brings to us in this time that we're living in. And I mean, on the surface, that is a great thing. That is fabulous news for us, and helps us to know that we can choose to rejoice in the day that the Lord has given to us. But when you do a little bit deeper digging, then you discover that this verse is surrounded by some other verses that just kind of brings a whole new meaning. I'm going to read those to you today. Psalms 118, starting in verse 22. "The stone which the builder rejected has become the chief cornerstone. This is the Lord's doing. It is marvelous in our eyes. This is the day which the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. O Lord, do save, we beseech you." And then it just keeps on going. We're going to look at those verses today. And the thing that first stood out to me is that it's talking about a stone that was rejected. And it's talking about, it's like I said, it's a foretelling of events that were to come when this was written. And if you do some looking into the New Testament, you will discover that the stone that it's talking about is Jesus Christ. And Jesus was rejected by the Jewish leadership. And so that prophecy was fulfilled in biblical times when Jesus came into this earth. For us to understand the significance of the cornerstone and it being rejected, we kind of need to know that the stone, how the stone was used in architecture back in the ancient days. The stone that was chosen to be the cornerstone had to be leveled, it had to be squared, it had to be set exactly in the right place, because every other stone that was put into that building was erected and put in place just because of the position of the cornerstone. And so if there was a problem with the cornerstone, if it wasn't level, if it wasn't set square, if it wasn't put exactly, then that building would have been useless. Eventually the walls would have been erected and it would have leaned and then it would have fallen over. So that is the significance that the people back in those times understood, the significance of the cornerstone. And so when we look into the future, when we look to the time when Jesus came and He fulfilled that prophecy, when He was, it says, the stone that the builders rejected, when He was rejected by the Jewish leaders, And then later he was, they crucified him, they beat him, they did all the things that led up to him dying when he took on the sins of the world. That's how come he was able to become the cornerstone. And it says he has become the chief cornerstone. And that's why when he arose from the grave 3 days after being crucified, when he overcame death, when he became back alive, then he became the cornerstone for the church. And that is the foundation that we have as believers. And right here at the Easter season, what a beautiful reminder that Jesus became our chief cornerstone. And what a beautiful thing for us to remember when you get to that verse when it says, because of that, because he was rejected, because he was crucified, because of all those things, because he overcame death and he became the chief cornerstone, then that verse takes on a whole new meaning. So because of that, this is the day that the Lord has made. We will rejoice and be glad in it. And I think that right now we're all going through a season of maybe wondering exactly what the Lord's allowing to take place in our lives as we look across the world and we look at how the coronavirus has us isolated in our homes, and we can't go to church like we'd like to, or fellowship with other believers, or even go to the grocery store without maybe a little bit of fear that we might be bringing that coronavirus into our households. And also then we have to look at the fact that people are losing wages and their money, or maybe they've lost their jobs, or maybe they've actually gotten the coronavirus and they're sick and they're in the hospitals and they're fighting it off and they're not with family. And all those things can make us a little confused or scared or worried. And I think it's at this time that we need to remember that this very day, this very season of time is something that the Lord allowed and he has made. And in it, even though all these things are going, because he made it, because he's allowing it, then we know that he goes before us, he's behind us, he surrounds us, he is for us, he knows all these things that's going on, but yet he is with us, and he is comforting us, and he is the peace that's with us and gives us the ability to go through these days that we just may not understand why we're going through them or how we're supposed to get through them. I want you to remember that today, that the Lord that was prophesied about way back in Psalms, and then he fulfilled that prophecy for us, that's our God that is with us. And today, you can remember, this is the day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. Have a beautiful day. And it's a blank verse at stop. And our neighbors are driving by. So let's just stop and pause and we'll redo because we're going to have some of that on there. And play it with blah, 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 blah.